Hello, in this video you're going to be learning about dividing powers of 10 and we're going to review multiplying with powers of 10. First we're going to start with our review of multiplying with powers of 10. Now when you multiply, it means that you're moving the decimal to make the number bigger. So the decimal's going to move to the right. Now, if there is no decimal, like in the number 43, there is no decimal. Well, 43 is a whole number, so there really is a decimal. It's at the end of it. We just don't need to write it because there was nothing that was holding its spot. So we're going to make it a bigger number because right here it says times. And what we're going to make it bigger by is what the exponent says. The exponent here says 4. So we're going to make it 4 spots bigger. So if I move it to the left, is my number going to get bigger? No. So again, that's a way to know. There's 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And it's really good to get in the habit of putting those bumps or spaces so that you know how many to fill in. After a while, you may not need that, but to begin with, make sure you do that to help you understand. Now, anytime there's empty spaces, all year long, we've learned that that means you add zeros. So our answer here is 4, 3, which is what our base number was. And then all we're doing is adding the amount of zeros that it says because there was not any decimal in this number. Now don't forget your commas. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. Ones, tens, hundreds. I don't need a comma. So our answer is 430,000. Let's move on to dividing with powers of 10. Dividing with powers of 10 is the exact same process, except for if we're going to divide a number, now we're going to make it smaller. So in order to make a number smaller, we need to move the decimal or move our places to the left. So I'm going to rewrite the number here, but I am not going to put the comma in. And I do that on purpose because if I'm going to be moving a decimal, I don't want the commas to get in my way. So I rewrote the whole number. Again, where is the decimal going to be located? Hopefully you said at the end, because at the end of whole numbers is where our decimals go. Now, just like we were multiplying, the exponent tells me how many spaces I'm going to move or how many digits I'm moving by. So in this case, I'm moving 3 digits and I want to make the number smaller. So in order to make it smaller, I've got to move to the left. There's 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit. So right here is where my new decimal's going to go. So it's no longer here. It's now right there. So my answer ends up being 4.381, which is very small compared to 4,381. I'm going to show you a few examples with mixed practice. So whenever we're doing mixed practice, make sure you're paying attention to what symbol it is. So in this case, it is a multiplication symbol. So we want to make sure our number gets bigger. We want a big number. So we're going to start with our base of 9. 9's going to get bigger by this many spaces. The exponent says by 3 spaces. So I can draw in my 3 spaces after the number to make it bigger. And what I fill in those empty spaces with are zeros. Again, another way to prove your work for this one would have been a 9. Put the decimal in at the end of it and move the decimal 3 spots. And then you fill in these empty holes with zeros because 0 means nothing. So our overall answer for this one is 9,000. Again, we were multiplying, so we made sure our number got bigger. The next one here, our symbol is division. So we want our answer to get smaller. So we are going to start with our base number. This base number is very large. I am going to rewrite it without any of the commas, making sure though that I have all the right amount. So I'm going to count how many zeros this one has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the decimal always goes at the end of a whole number. Because I'm getting smaller, I want to move my decimal this direction because it will go smaller. And I'm going to move it 4 spaces. Remember, that's 4 digits. 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit, 4 digit. So my decimal now becomes here. Because all these numbers after it were 0, they actually can just go away. If there was a different number in the digit spot, then you would have to keep those after the decimal. So our answer ends up being an 8, a 4, a 5, a 0, and then I hit a decimal with nothing after it. So I do not need to write my decimal in. However, I do need to put a comma. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma, ones, and we're done. So our answer is 8,450. Let's try one more. Again, my symbol is division, so we're going to get smaller, which means my decimal is going to move to the left. I'm going to rewrite my number without the commas, making sure I have the right amount of numbers, the 72 with 3 zeros. Now this one says that I am moving it 1 space. So if my decimal was at the very end, I'm moving it in 1 space. So because my new decimal showed up here, this at the end of it was not needed anymore. So my answer ends up being a 72 and 2 zeros because the next thing would have been a decimal and I don't need to write it. Now let's put in the comma. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. So our answer is 7,200. This is a chance to give it a try. Pause the video and then resume it to check your answers. Welcome back. All right, let's see if you came up with some good answers for these problems. We're dividing so the number gets smaller by 4 spots. So our answer for the first one is just 4 because the decimal moved all the way up to where the 4 is. In our next one, again, we're dividing. We're dividing by, I wrote my comma and I don't really want that in there because it'll kind of screw up my answer. So let's rewrite that again. We have 1, we're dividing, so dividing goes to the left. So we go 1 spot to the left from the end. We end up with an 8, a 1, a 7, a 0. And we got to go put our comma in 3 spaces from the end, comma. So our answer for that one is 8,170. Our very last one to try, we write down our number. In this case, we are multiplying, so we know that our answer is going to get bigger. And it gets bigger by this many zeros at the end of it, since there was no decimal in the number. So we're going to add our 3 zeros to the end of it. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. So your answer should be 531,000. Now, if you were paying attention, maybe you had your worksheet out in front of you, or maybe you didn't. You'll notice that some of these problems might show up on that. Good luck with your worksheet. Make sure you rewatch the video if you need it for extra guidance or practice.